Alright, y'all. So, I want to do another video on my book. Yes, I am shamelessly trying to promote it. But here's a tip for all of y'all who are trying to do what I'm doing. Hopefully, there's a lot of y'all out there. And the reason that I'm hoping that there's a whole lot of y'all out there is because I want aspiring writers, authors like myself, to actually have the courage to put their thoughts in their heads on paper. Everybody's a great storyteller. Doesn't matter if if you're a good old boy out on the lake fishing with your buddies. We all gonna tell a fish story, right? Assuming y'all are like me and y'all like to fish, man. You ain't gonna believe, but that bass that got away was that big. Oh man, it was huge. And it just keeps getting bigger every time you tell the story. Man, it was so big it broke 500-pound test line. We're all storytellers. And some of us have a message. So, what was the purpose for me writing Against the Flow of Mississippi? Was it the story, or was it the message, or was it both? And the truth is, it's both. Number one, I'll go ahead and give props to my favorite author, John Grisham. Hands down, my favorite author. John Grisham will teach you things in his books, but also keep you gripping the pages. Now, I'll admit, I've never actually sat down and, quote, read in the conventional sense one of his books, but as a former truck driver with nothing more to do in my life but sit on my butt and drive a truck around the country, I've listened to quite a few of his books, and I'm going to tell you, I don't like new music. Just going to be honest with you. I like the classics. B.B. King, Muddy Waters, Merle Haggard, George Jones, Willie Nelson, Waylon Jennings. Like my classic rock. They're not making that stuff anymore. And once you've listened to the same song over and over and over and over and over and over again, driving down the highways and byways of this great country that we live in, it gets old and boring. So I downloaded Audible, and I would play from my phone or my tablet audiobooks through the speaker system in the truck. And that's honestly how I got into. That's how I've read a lot of books. Obviously, I'm pretty capable of reading. If you can write, you can obviously read. But it's kind of hard to read a book while you're going down the road. And you need something to keep your mind focused, awake, alert, so that when you're driving an 80,000-pound piece of equipment, you don't kill somebody or yourself. So, I like the way he written. I like the way he wrote. I like the way that he described, even in the fictional sense, Ford County, for example. If you've read any of his books, you'll understand what I mean by Ford County. There is no Ford County, Mississippi. Well, I wanted to capture a place that's real. So I wrote my book starting off in Biloxi. Being that I did this, yes, I know it's a real place, and in telling the story, it almost sounds like something that happened. I've had people come up to me, just to throw this out there. I'm also a former correctional officer. When I published my book earlier this year, I was working for the Stone County, Mississippi Sheriff's Department. My captain actually told me that he Googled some of the stuff that I wrote about in my book to see if it was actually real. That told me something, that if I can tell a story to where a very intelligent man has to question if it actually happened, that gave me confidence on a level that was like the greatest compliment that I could get. Gave me so much confidence that I want to do it again. And I'm working on it again. I can't give you a release date because unfortunately I'm stuck in Florida, and I'm working ungodly hours trying to get every dollar I can. Sadly, there's no money back home. That's why I had to come to Florida. So unfortunately, I just don't have time for it. I wish I did. I don't. That being said, hearing my captain tell me that, and other people have told me that too. Hey man, I had to Google this to see if this was a true story, if it really happened or what. Now I'm going to start off on my main character, how I developed him. My main character's name is Jake Fayard. I chose the name Fayard for a reason. In fact, there's a lot of surnames that I used in my book. Creel, Fayard, Bahanovich. These are people, these are surnames that are actually from my hometown. And they're common surnames. And it was paying homage to friends of mine who share that last name. It was paying a courtesy to them. So when I wrote Jake Fayard, I wanted just a good old Biloxi boy. I wrote him as a Marine because I love our troops. I love our veterans. I'm not a veteran. I have never served in the military. That is a life decision that I personally will regret for the rest of my life, because I think I should have. Unfortunately, at 38 years old and, 5'10", 300 pounds, no branch of service will ever take me. And for that, I have deep regrets. But because I have a love for those who have served our great country, and I know the Marine Corps is a breeding ground for fighters. Jerry Clower once had a joke. He said he was sitting in Camp Lejeune, North Carolina. And he said, yeah, somebody said, man, you ever notice every Marine thinks he could whip 5 folks? And another one piped up and said, well, Yeah, you know why they think that? Because they can. That is, in my opinion, just, America loves a badass. Marines are the baddest of the bad, in my opinion. I wanted a fighter. I wanted a main character with fortitude. I'm trying to keep this G-rated. But I wanted a main character with some grit to him. So I made my main character a combat veteran. Him being a combat veteran, he would not cower to what the system wanted him to do, what the system wanted him to become. First off, they didn't want him to become anything if you've read the book. They did everything they could to push him down and keep him down. But he rose above it. He stepped up and he became, if you read the book, he became what he wanted to become. Then he got there and realized that there was a whole nother system that wanted to keep him down. And he wasn't going for that either. This is also my ideal political candidate. I don't want a good old boy running. I don't want somebody in the good old boy club. Let me rephrase that. I want a good old boy, but I don't want somebody that's in the club. I want somebody who I can relate to as a person, that's going to look out for my interest as my representative, my employee, to be a lawmaker, to run for office. Doesn't matter what party. Yes, I use the Republican Party and the Democrat Party. And I mentioned that I am a libertarian, which I am. I try to represent those parties as evenly as possible. I made Jake Fayard, my main character, a Republican because unfortunately there's no chance that a libertarian candidate will be elected to federal office from the state of Mississippi. So I wanted to keep it as real sounding as possible, yet reverting back to the storytelling and the compliments that I've gotten from people who've actually had to Google and see, is Jake Fayard a real guy? Everybody in my book is a made-up character. Everybody. There's a few people that I mentioned that were real, and there are people that I base certain characters about. But I never, other than mentioning their names and their historical figures, that I mentioned their names. Medgar Evers, Vernon Dahmer, I mentioned those names. I wanted to tackle as many issues as possible that I saw wrong in this country, in this book. I wanted to nail down as much as I could. So I attacked political corruption. I attacked the system parties. I attacked racism. I attacked gun control, which I'm thoroughly against. I don't think everybody needs to carry a gun. Some people really just shouldn't because they're too irresponsible or they have other issues. But at the same time, I do believe it is a fundamental right in this country. And I also think, stepping further, that an armed society is a polite society. And I also think that a good guy with a gun will stop a bad guy with a gun, hands down. That being said, I do bring up the problem with people owning guns that shouldn't. But I also bring up good guys with a gun stopping them. I based Jake Fayard almost a carbon copy of my views on political issues. Not a very realistic deal. But I do believe some of them should be enacted. If you could tell a good story and keep people entertained long enough to get through and read your book, I think that if you do that, you've got something. I have literally only had one person say anything negative about my book, and I'm proud of that. Not a whole lot of people have read it. It's not on the New York Times bestseller list. Probably never will be. And I don't expect it to be. 100 years from now, it probably will never be in print. Maybe I'll get lucky. But the only negative review that I have received about my book, truth be told, I honestly think that it was because I pissed him off on a personal level. And it's somebody that I've known for a long time. I've known this guy over 15 years. It is what it is. Ironically, he's partially the namesake for the main character's best friend. Whatever. It is what it is. If you can sit there and you can get people to read your views and figure out why you feel this way, maybe you'll change a mind or two. Maybe you'll get people to actually go, George Orwell did. Now he's a bumper sticker slogan. I encourage everybody who has just 20 minutes a day to write a book. It's not going to happen overnight. It took me 4 years to write that book. I started that book on night shift sitting at a prison in Rayford, Florida. I started writing it around August of 2018. I finished it June of 2022. You're not going to write a book overnight. You have a life. You have obligations. You have obligations to yourself. You have obligations to your family. You have obligations to your job. But if you could sit there for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, 2 hours if you can, and write. If you've got time to play video games, you can write a book. I don't play video games. If you've got time to sit there and scroll through TikTok on your phone, you've got time to write a book. If you've got time to sit there and binge watch whatever Netflix show that you're watching, you have time to write a book. It's not going to make you rich. I looked up tonight and I have made, since I published back in June, and this is now just a few days after Thanksgiving, I've made about $55. It happens. You're not going to get rich. But it makes me feel good to know that I actually accomplished something that a lot of people talk about, but they don't do. I want to sit there and put a charge up your butt to make you want to write your book. I want you to get out there, get off of YouTube where you're watching this video, grab your keyboard, fire up the old laptop, sit down, and put your thoughts on paper. Don't plagiarize. Get your story out there, whatever it is. Getting close to Christmas time now. We're all seeing the memes, about Nagatomi Plaza and Die Hard and all that stuff. Somebody thought that in their head before they put it on paper to make it a movie. Play the movie out in your head. My next video that I'm fixing to do, because I'm at 23 minutes now. My next video that I want to do is going to be on my writing style. Y'all get out there and go write. Hope y'all had a good Thanksgiving and Merry Christmas if you celebrate either of the two holidays, and if not, well, have a good day anyway. Thank you for watching.